Lakeside Dental Clinic, Go Island, is brought to you by Lakeside Dental Clinic.
Water conservation, governance reviews, and marketing grants, a few of the things up for discussion at Monday night's City Council. Does Nanaimo have enough water to get through the summer? Crime Stoppers, robbery at the credit union, and the boys are back once again. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We will be joining Nanaimo Mayor John Rattan today for a recap of the latest City Council meeting. But first, after a somewhat dry and long winter season, does Nanaimo's watershed have enough water to get us through the hot summer months? Well, as Derek Johnstone finds out, yes, it does. Now, while we may have enough water to get us through the summer, it is estimated that by the year 2024, Nanaimo's demand for water will exceed the supply. John Rattan, this was a discussion at Nanaimo City Council meeting on Monday. What are we doing to address and anticipate this?
Well, staff is working hard to make sure that our water supply is constant. One of the things that was discussed in the report last night was the need to have people aware that conservation is ever so important, more so as time progresses. And rain barrels are an option that people should think about. They can have rain barrels for runoff and use that for agriculture, for their lawns and their flowers and so on. We've had a very successful program with rebates for low-flow toilets that make a surprising difference in it. And actually the stat that I was most impressed with is that we are showing positive results. We are showing a reduction in the household use of water. And we have, I think, for 2 years now, something like that. So it's a trend we like to see. It's going in the right direction, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that it continues on.
Now, what can we do in order to meet that anticipated demand in 2024? It's huge infrastructure projects that cost millions and millions of dollars. And the time to start that is now.
Yes. Well, that's the problem. And, you know, there's a lot of hurdles to overcome. Certainly, money is one of them. The cost to do it, if we did work with SFN, Nanaimo First Nations, and got their permission to look at some of the different sites that might be on their traditional territory. I know dams are something they're uncomfortable with, but I think the need for water is something that everyone requires, and certainly they've been understanding when it comes to the community. So we'll work through that issue, but then you get into the expense, and it's not inexpensive to start increasing the height of the dams. There's also possible accessing water from surface run, some of the rivers, so we're looking at all those options at this point.
So right now it's accurate to say that we're exploring options.
Exploring options for certain.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to come back and talk with Nanaimo Mayor John Rattan about some of the other things that came up on Monday night's City Council meeting. Still to come today, so you want to be Canadian, eh? Crime Stoppers focuses on a bank robbery in Nanaimo, and the race against the clock is on.
Did you know that many of our native plants here on the island are also edible? For example, the Mahonia or Oregon grape and the salal both have edible, delicious berries. We have elderberry, salmonberry, and thimbleberry, and that's just to name a few.
You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. A very interesting, about an hour-long discussion regarding governance review at Nanaimo City Council on Monday night. First of all, why is there a need to review things that people have already signed into with an oath?
With an oath. Well, you know, I think it's important that from time to time, Council needs to step back, take a look at what's happening. There's been some concern that we haven't always been working collaboratively. And so as a result, we as a city felt that it would be desirable to have a facilitator to come in and sit down, interview council one by one, and come up with a policy. And we're trying to find a lot of different issues. Are we working effectively with our fellow councillors? Are we addressing the public needs in a respectful manner? Are we asking and answering questions as required? So it's part of a review. It's just something that really, it's just a reminder that there is a required policy and procedure and conduct for councillors. And that's what it all spoke to last night. And there was nothing new or onerous in this policy. There was nothing that should be challenging to anyone in council. It was simply just a reminder. This is what is expected of you. And at the end of it, we're suggesting to those councillors who wish to should sign off on it. I will, as the mayor was in a separate program, and I'll sign off, and I think the majority of council will sign off. Whether everyone will or not remains to be seen.
Is there any repercussions for not adhering to the guidelines? And
no repercussions, but I think the public would probably want to ask why. You know, I mean, it's a voluntary thing, and if the majority of council sign off on it as accepting the terms and conditions and the outlines of this policy, if anyone chooses to refuse to, there'll be no penalty for it. But I think they may be asked what they found difficult on the policy and what they didn't agree with and why they didn't sign.
It almost sounds a little bit like group counseling for city council, which goes to a rumor, impression, some people's opinion that the city council here in Nanaimo is dysfunctional. Do you think there's truth to that?
Well, you know, some evenings for certain, you know, at some of the Monday night council meetings. But, you know, I mean, I think this is what we were trying to address by doing this. You know, I've heard this thing, the dysfunctional before, and the phrase. And so what we're trying to do is say to the public, look, we recognize that we're not perfect. We recognize that there are areas that need improvement. And this is our steps to take it to try to do that.
Now, I know I didn't sort of warn you about this question. It's something I've always wondered. We do broadcast live the city council meetings on Shaw TV. Do you think there's a bit of grandstanding that goes on because those cameras are rolling? I wonder how shorter those meetings would be without the...
Very much. It's true. And of course, I have to remind you that this is an election year, so the speeches are often longer again. So it's the nature of the animal. You know,
there can be a benefit to polarizing your voters,
That's
right?
That's the whole purpose.
Okay.
And that's why they're doing it.
I sense this is just the beginning of a larger discussion that I hope we will get to finish in another forum and format at a future date. We're going to throw things over to Gary O'Brien, a new installment of Crime Stoppers. But first, what does it mean to be Canadian? Is it something to do with drinks, maybe? I don't know. You're watching Go. Another one of the items that was discussed at Monday night's City Council meeting was matching grants. Now, that doesn't mean that the city is going to match a grant that already exists. It means that you're going to be aware of some grants that are maybe being issued twice.
Well, that we might match inadvertently.
Okay.
See, so what we're trying to do is just find out, try to create a policy, because often, as an example, sports groups may come to Parks and Recreation and ask for some assistance in funding a trip to a volleyball final in Vancouver or Victoria. Then in some cases the same group may come to City Hall and talk to City Council to see if there's a willingness to fund it as well. And then it's not unusual then to see them at the RDN, the Regional District of Nanaimo, which 7 of the 9 of us sit on, and there's a similar application for funding. So we're not in any way trying to restrict, curtail, or eliminate funding opportunities. We just simply want to be aware of what actually, these are all taxpayers' dollars, doesn't matter in what institution it is, it's paid for by the taxpayers. And we just want to show due diligence, that we want to be aware of what has been contributed already, and to see in some cases we might want to match the grant. In other cases, we just want the opportunity to be able to know how much money is involved.
And one of the things that people might not realize is that a lot of the funding for grants through the RDN actually comes from the city of Nanaimo, and that's what you mean.
A very large portion.
Base.
Yeah, because the same taxpayer base, exactly. Yeah. So the taxpayers of Nanaimo contribute a great deal of the money that's used at the RDN, at the regional district. So we're simply saying that the city obviously owns Parks and Rec. That's city money. The city itself is operated by taxpayer money, and the RDN is operated to a large extent with money from the city of Nanaimo taxpayers. So we're simply saying we want to just ensure that the money is well spent and that we're aware of what the funding is.
Thank you. we do just touch the surface in a recap format of what takes place on Monday night city council meetings. The website for the city is very thorough. You can get more information on anything that you hear today by visiting www.nanaimo.ca. We're throwing things over now to a couple of guys who I hope are completely ill-informed and don't know anything about what's going on around them, because then maybe they will lose in Clocked. We're always looking for ideas. If you have one, kate.bergen@sjrb.ca. Let's stump these guys. The city of Nanaimo is maybe trying to stump you. They're once again running their Golden Bucket event. Every Wednesday of every week through the entire summer, they will be posting clues at recreational facilities across the city. You get the clue, you follow it, you find the bucket. Inside the bucket will be a question, and then you go online and answer the question to win weekly prizes. And you could turn it into your own homegrown version of Clocked by putting yourself on a timer. You can get more information through the City of Nanaimo's Facebook page or their website. Thanks for watching this edition of Go Island. We'll see you out and about.
Lakeside Dental Clinic Go Island is brought to you by Lakeside Dental Clinic, a division of the Vancouver Island Implant Center, delivering dental services, including dental implants and sedation dentistry, all under one roof. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.